All right. Thank you for everybody being here tonight to spend the next 2 hours together to meditate. This is a very special session because it's our very first time to move the offline session to the online session. Very different from the offline session, to be honest. And also, everything's too new. Everything's very new to me. Probably also too new to you as well, right? Due to the recent situation of the coronavirus, and all the universities, schools has been closed, and we couldn't really organize this event there. And it's also better to stay at home to keep safe until the virus has left, hopefully in short time. So today, let's do this meditation via YouTube Live. For me, I could not see anybody, so I can only stare at the camera to speak for a while. And we still use the same schedule we used in the offline session. So, at beginning the session, let's reflect for a while. I think today most people stay at home because the virus. You probably have read a lot of news from the TV, newspaper, and website. A lot of things going wrong about coronavirus. So let's meditate. Let's reflect in stillness about our reactions to this news. It can be frustration, it can be fear, it can be any other kind of emotions arising from these reactions. And let's just reflect it for 3 minutes. Then when we finish it, as usual, I will ring the bell to invite everybody come back to this moment. You see, sorry. You see how easy the mind can be disturbed by all kinds of news. The virus itself can definitely affect everybody physically if someone got it, but this virus also can affect everyone mentally. But the virus itself has no intelligence. It has no brain. It's purely ruthless, just doing its job. But at the same time, as human beings, we begin to react to the virus mentally. A lot of thoughts goes around about the virus, the fear towards the pain potentially caused by the virus. All kinds of symptoms like fever, cough, whatever. And our very desire to avoid it give us the panic, the disturbance to the mind. Also, the fear towards death is also playing a part in this mental process. At the same time, our mental status is also related to our immune system. If someone was in a very terrible emotion situation, his or her immune system can be much more vulnerable. So when we really react to the virus, our moods will be affected. So is our immune system. If it's really so, probably it's really wise to stay calm, to not react to this information, to be present fully. We can try our best to protect ourselves by taking the measures that against the virus. But we also need to accept whatever will happen. Nothing matters than this moment, right? This is the moment that we really have. This moment, you are totally okay. But if you damage or ruin this moment by being emotional, is that really worthwhile? So for this virus situation, for us, it's very good to meditate, to notice the change of the mind to the situation. To feel the influence of the media on people, on you, on me. Life is so changeable, isn't it? Is it? We never expected that this stuff could happen this year, but it indeed happens. We might also notice that we might also notice that by months ago, the virus was only happening in Asian countries, which is very far away from here. We knew that from the news. But our life is still going on here. Until recently, the virus began to erupt in Italy and spread to other countries. We began to feel it. Because it's nearer to us. And these thoughts about the threatening began to let us have this alertness. It's very difficult and almost impossible to imagine other people's trouble or difficulty until we experienced ourselves. Experiencing it, feeling it, it's different from thinking about that. Look at our habits. We have given too much thought to it, to distort our feelings. In most time life, we may find that it's difficult to find the boundary between the thoughts and the feelings. Because feelings also come from neurons and thoughts is also from neurons. We have two definitions from the language: thoughts, feelings, or sensations. But when we really see that from neurons, probably you also feel that the boundary between the thoughts and the sensations are very blurry. And that's why our thoughts can distort our sensation a little bit. And also the other way around. When we have a different sensation, our thoughts also changed. This is the impermanence from neurons. We want to be stable. We want to be permanent. So we develop all kinds of attachment. To want to have this kind of security or get a sense of permanence. And we have devoted a lot of energy to defend this attachment. But life is always changeable. The situation around us is always changeable. That very attachment to anything we want breeds conflicts from within. It's like you are swimming or you are flowing with the river, and there's a tree inside the river. If you hold that tree, it's more like attachment. You would feel the stretch of your arm. because life is always ongoing. And you want to hold on to something to keep still, which cause the conflicts. And that conflicts can reflect in your life in many different ways. Deeply feel the power of this attachment, or the damage of the damage of the attachment to our life. To deeply feel the attachment, the impact on the life, is to meditate. To deeply feel that nobody wants to be empty and try to find something to be attached to, hopefully to get someone out of the emptiness, is the fundamental desire of the people. We want to be something, and we don't want to be nothing. And actually, we are really empty, right? Our thoughts, our experience is totally supported by the neurons. And the neuron activities are so changeable all the time. To deep feel this conflict is to meditate. To feel the changeable of life, your changeable mental situations, because the neurons. When your brain stops working, everything's gone, right? So this kind of emptiness is nothing about nihilism or whatever. It's just very, very essential to the neuron reality. Our feeling, emotion, sensation is purely from neurons. And when neurons stop working, everything's gone. So you still could have that sensation, like joy, peace, calm, right? But we need to have this awareness that it's just empty eventually. With that awareness, we won't be attached to any sensations, emotions, thoughts. Without that sensation, without that attachment, we are purely at peace with what is. That in that state, there's a true calm. when we are free thoughts, free all the attachment to thoughts, there's a true calm, a deep level calm. To understand that is to meditate. So every day, come here. Why this YouTube live to listen? It's not to listen to what I said, because what I said is pure languages. It's probably some nonsense. But it's just to listen to your heart, to find yourself, to understand your true self, the nature of the mind that could guide you through the life. What I said is mere a self-projection from my perspective. And what I said might get across to you very differently, but it doesn't matter, because I think it still triggers you to think about something. Here, you don't need to agree or disagree with me, because if you go to disagree, you are not into your mind. You are only focused on the verse, the wording, the text, which is very deceiving and always cause disagreement and argument. Here, let's just dive into the mind together to feel, to understand how the mind works. This process is beyond the language, as we said many times in the past offline sessions. And to explore it, you need to feel it without the language, beyond the language. Of course, language has been part of our life. But we need to have this awareness that language is very limited. Language is only something mapped from the mind to the verse, to the symbols. The communication via language is very limited. And for most of the mental activities, they just can't be described by languages. So for your mind, you can feel it and you get it, but nobody else can do that for you. So this kind of inward exploration means that everybody sit alone, being alone, in solitude, to feel the mind, to notice how the mind works, the neurons, your thought, the self, to understand how the thoughts pop up. You can only do that by yourself. Even we can speak, communicate all the time, but the understanding of the nature mind, it's a very individual work. Today, as usual, we still reuse the schedule from the offline session. The first part is now we are doing just try to look at meditation from different perspectives. After that, let's do a meditation together to quieten the mind first. After this meditation, we come back again to talk about another topic. Privacy. Let's look at privacy today. As I said before, it's not about to deny something or affirm something, but to examine it, to understand why we have this privacy issue nowadays. Why everybody is so concerned about privacy. Now, after the third part session, everybody's mind must be very activated due to this kind of inner exploration and reflection. So we need to come down again by doing another meditation, which will end to this session. So let's continue the first part about the basics of meditation. Many people ask, what is meditation? And this question has been asked many times by many different people. Because people always want to know clearly what is meditation before they really start doing that. But do we need to know clearly what a life is before we live a life? Obviously impossible, right? Life is always ongoing. Now how can we know the life beforehand? And then we start life. When we really think that way, we are into the mood of thoughts. The thoughts about the future. We want to know the life clearly before we start life. But life is always ongoing. And for each moment in life, we always think about the past or the future. Nothing to do with the present, which is the only thing we really have. In that way of life, we are living in dreams, thoughts, illusions. I think this is the way of life of most people on this planet. Else, we won't have so many different types of cultures, languages, thoughts, ideologies. So when people ask, what is meditation? That very question only reflects the confusion about meditation and life. When people ask what is life, it's similar, right? When life is only a word, life is only a thought. When we are really living a life, life is beyond the language, beyond any thought. That's also very similar to meditation. When we meditate, it's different from the word meditation, which is only a thought, a view, a point we discuss now. How can you understand the meditation only based on a word which is called meditation? The very attachment to the language without any awareness is now the biggest issue for the people nowadays. We just purely mapped our mind to the languages, and then we think, speak in languages, even reason via language. A few days ago, I think from news, from what I understand, the government decided not to close schools, only close the workplace. So people need to stay at home to work. At the same time, the school was still open. And then there's a report from the newspaper on the website to say why the government made this decision. In the hope of persuading people to understand, the school should be open while the people should stay at home to work. But when you look at that news, that report, we notice that what's the purpose of reasoning? Does reasoning really lead to some conclusion or result? Or we just reason to defend some result, some decision, or to negate some decision? When the government wanted to not close schools, they have their reasonings. But other people were complaining all the time because it makes no sense that the people stay at home and the kids need to go to school. There were some parents who working in the hospital have to work, their children need to go to the school. But if everybody's kid has to go to school, then it really makes no sense for people to stay at home, because kids are still vulnerable to this virus. And kids can spread the disease to their parents. So the government now changed the decision to close the schools and every public places. And they can give a new reasoning to this decision. So we must realize the limitations of reasonings. It always to enhance one bias over the other. To make the neuron stable, not wobble between two or different branches of the decision. So reasoning is not to make right decision, because there's no really right or wrong decision at all. Right? But reasoning only to confirm something, to make people less unsure about something, less uncertain. To understand this part, to notice this kind of very implicit, subtle meaning of reasoning, is to meditate. It's very easy to be tricked by reasoning. Unless we give our attention to this part, to understand it thoroughly. If meditation can really be defined, we don't need to hold so many sessions all the time, right? We can speak it clearly in one session and finish it, or repeat in multiple different sessions. But the problem is that there's no such a way to precisely define meditation. I can find a way which I feel, very clear, but that's only to me. When I really put that down to a sentence and share with everyone else, other people might get confused at all. Because I feel it's clear because it's my projection. It's my self-projection. And people have different ways to understand language. The way I find is clear might not be clear to other people. Because languages are only symbols and images, and we compromise to agree on some meaning of the symbols. But still, everyone has a different perception of the same word, the same sentence. So to understand meditation, we need to understand our life, ourselves. To end the self. That's to meditate. The self, the psychological self, the concept of the self, which we always holding on to. And you might notice that to understand the meditation, there's no structural thinking or writing, which is usually we do in academia, at school. We need to write or think in a very structured way. That's only a form. That's some kind of creation we did ourselves to impress people, right? To make it clear so people can get it by your way of thinking. But the mind has no such a structure at all. If I talk about mind, how can I be so structured? If I present mindfulness meditation in a structured way, and if you follow that structure, you will be misled by me unless you go beyond that structure to understand how the mind works. So we need to understand, to feel the limitation of the structure we always seek in all kinds of way of life, in all the aspects of way of life. That structure implies fragment. Implies symbolic thinking. And everybody is trained to get used to that structure. Right? We prefer reading something which is very structured, because it seems to be easy to get it, but it's also super easy to be misled. And then we also get used to all kinds of structures, the mental structure of the society, in your family, in your workplace, in your school. Structure means simplicity, but also means extremity, division, means something absolute. So to understand the limitation of the structure in your life, or understand the restraint of that structure for your life, is to meditate. Mind is beyond any structure, right? When you really go into the free creation, or whatever we call being creative, there's no structure really can restrain the mind, because the thought itself is a structure. Is it? All right, this is the first part of today's session. Still, we reviewed the meditation from different perspectives. And now, let's meditate. Do the breath meditation to quieten the mind together. As we said before, reflect and understand all life issues is to meditate. And the breath meditation is also part of the meditation. We are so easily into the thoughts and carried away by thoughts. So to meditate while focus on the breath, is to let us be present, to come out of the mood of thoughts, to focus on the sensation. By focusing on the sensation, to quieten the mind. Our mind is definitely super easy being disturbed, being excited. It's super easy to lose the peace. So, in my opinion, this kind of breath meditation or any similar form is always recommended to give us the space, to give us a break back to the present, to regain the awareness, to notice how far away we have gone from being present. I guess some of us has already some experience of meditation, some might not, so I'll give a very simple recap of the meditation technique. Focus on the breath. That's the breath meditation. When we breathe in, notice we are breathing in. That's the awareness. And focus on the sensation of the in-breath. This can be the coolness around the nostrils. It can be the expansion of the belly or chest, or anywhere you feel most. That's your focus. When you breathe out, notice that you are breathing out. That's all your awareness you need to keep. At the same time, focus on the sensation of the out breath, like the warmth around the nostrils or the shrink of the belly or the chest or anywhere you feel most. So during this practice, you focus on the sensation of the breath. At the same time, you are fully aware that you are breathing. The awareness we are cultivating. At the same time, you must be alert for the thoughts, because thoughts can easily pop up all the time during the meditation. So you must be aware of the thoughts. If you are at the very beginning stage of meditation, it's very easy to get carried away by thoughts. If it happened, that's okay. Just fully accept that. Don't judge yourself. Don't think about anything else. Just simply come back to breath, time and time again. And if you could be aware of the thoughts, so to speak, try at the same time, try your best to be aware of the thought before you identify the thoughts. So when a thought pop up, just realize, oh, it's a thought, and then come back to breath, time and time again. That's the whole content of meditation, breath meditation. So, in the next 10 minutes, let's do the meditation together with the audio guide. And after this session, let's come back again to talk about the next topic. All right? Perfect. Now, let's take a 10-minute meditation. Start by taking a moment to find a comfortable position to sit in a posture that you feel relaxed and get alert. Let hands rest on your knees or laps. Let the eyes close gently. Soften your forehead. Act a soft smile in the corner of your lips. Breathe naturally. As you breathe in, be aware that you are breathing in. Feel the sensation of breathing in. The region can be the nostrils, can be the belly, can be anywhere. Focus on the part you feel most. As you breathe out, be aware that you are breathing out. Feel the sensation of breathing out. The region can be the nostrils, can be the belly, can be anywhere. Focus on the part you feel most. Fix your attention on the breath. Let go of any thought, words, images. This moment, nothing is more important than breath. Surrender yourself to this moment fully. Every time you hear the bell, check where your attention is. If it wasn't on the breath, gently invite your attention back to the breath and sustain your attention on the breath. Slowly bring your awareness back to this room. Feel into your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes. When you are ready, open your eyes. I hope everybody enjoyed the last 10-minute meditation practice. So unlike the offline session, I can ask you everybody, how is everybody feeling now? But now I just presume that everybody is doing great. At least the mind has been calmed down a little bit, right? You see, when we really discuss the meditation, verbally, which is unavoidable because sometimes we still need to use language, like here now, to talk about, to trigger some thoughts from everybody, to reflect upon the mind. We still need to have thoughts to have a proper perception of the mind, which is a meditation. And to develop the deep level of the awareness, actually we need to dig up the mind. To like a drawer, we need to find everything inside out, to examine so the fundamental biases is running through the head. This exploration is indeed disturbing, is it? Because it requires a lot of attention and efforts from us in dig into it. All the neuron paths will be affected, activated. But this exploration gives us the awareness. That is come deep level awareness to solve the issue from the very beginning. But at some time, our mind can be activated, just as we did in the past hour. So breath meditation is still needed in this situation to quieten the mind. Of course, you also have your own way to do that. That's also okay, because there's no fixed form of meditation. Okay, so let's move to the third part of the session to talk about privacy. Privacy is a word, means something private, and shouldn't be known by other people. To be honest, this word, people in different culture might perceive it very differently. Like people in China have a very different perception of privacy than the Western world. So it's rather meaningless to talk about privacy between people from different cultures unless we examine the context of privacy from the perspective of the mind. If we only discuss like people from Netherlands and people from China, when these two guys talking about privacy, it's rather meaningless because these two persons have a very different, even the opposite perception of privacy. So to look at the privacy, let's look at the mind a little bit, to try to find some connections between our mind and why we so cared about privacy nowadays. Maybe a little over concerned about that. Again, before we start the discussion, let's notice that it is not about affirm or deny privacy, but to look at the confusion that's going around about privacy. There are many different ways to interpret privacy. And here I only show a few understandings from what I get. It might be not very a whole picture of it, but I hope this kind of discussion still can trigger some more constructive thinking about this topic, about mind, the nature of the mind. Let's start from emptiness this time. When we say we are empty, it sounds very sad, very negative. Oh my God, I'm empty. And then it's easy to be misled into the nihilism. Oh, everything is meaningful, life is gloomy, whatever. But that if we really invest into that sort of philosophy, a kind of thought and ideology, we are in a very wrong place to understand meditation. As we discussed earlier in the session, emptiness is only represent the activities of neurons. Neurons won't give us anything permanent because neurons is always changeable. This means the emptiness. We need to have that awareness, because if we believe something is permanent, we are misled, and the conflicts from within, from the mind, is unavoidable. Unless we have awareness that, okay, nothing's really permanent. Everything is actually empty because our neurons, like our feelings, thoughts, sensations, it's so changeable, it's so deceiving. To rely on something which is not permanent, but we thought it was permanent, is one of the biggest mistakes we could ever make in our life. But we're still making that mistake at each minute, right? We dislike being empty. We want to be something. We want to become something. So to counteract the emptiness, we have all kinds of attachment to things, to thoughts, ideologies, faith. We hope this attachment can bring a sense of permanence, in spite of the fact that nothing is permanent. You see, sometimes, human beings are very, very ridiculous in doing this. There's no such thing called detachment. Be aware of that. The opposite of attachment is not detachment. Actually, what we mean detachment is something like we have a new attachment to replace the old one, but we still attached. When we are when we are attached to things, thoughts, illusions, culture, anything, all languages, whatever you can imagine, we are in the mood of division. We human beings divide ourselves by attachment. You are attached to that. I'm attached to this. And sometimes, or not sometimes, in many cases, we are attached to the same thing. And then we compete. We compare. We have jealousy. We have all kinds of conflicts, which is definitely make us suffer. And based on this illusion, we have developed ownership, possession, right? We try to possess something, but actually, what we possess actually possess us. We hope this possession or ownership can give us a sense of permanence. Oh yeah, I own a house, I own a land. This idea run through the capitalism, right? But this idea is the key to all kinds of mental conflicts that we have had. We are greedy, cunning, jealous, and to not being affected by these conflicts, we began to have a new concept, privacy. I keep it to my own and won't let you know. That privacy will give a sense of security, because I can possess something safely without being known to others, which is, if somebody is known that, jealousy, the green eye monster, is unavoidable, that conflicts will happen. This can be robbery in the past. Nowadays it still happens, right? This can be all kinds of conflicts people can go through. So privacy is something needed in this situation. If I possess something, I wouldn't be open. It is the opposite to the openness. If you have something really to own, you won't be open as well. being not open or being closed requires much more mental energies than being open. Right? When you are really open, you don't care about anything. You are really free. Free of mind. Relaxed. But when you want to keep something private, you must give attention to it. It needs a lot of mental energy to keep it private. Right? When you want to keep some secret, it requires you much more energy than you want to keep it open. So, in that regard, the privacy consumes a lot of energy. Because privacy is something we construct mentally, and to maintain that status of privacy, we need to keep instilling energy into that. So, maintaining privacy is one of the biggest energy consumption of the mind. And because this kind of a lifestyle based on these unexamined fundamental values, privacy is part of our life now. And keeping something private is become such a strong habit in every aspect of life. Here, people might confuse, oh yeah, if I don't have privacy, there are all kinds of fraud that can damage my possession or whatever. Of course, here it's not to deny privacy, but you see, privacy is always concerns the possession stuff. And people, because in such an economical situation, people are so cunning, right? If you don't keep it private, people might be cunning to cheat you out of it. But it won't block us from examining the privacy, the why we have this privacy. And being private has become a habit. We want to keep it to ourselves because we feel that if we keep ourselves, the self can benefit the most from this gesture, as it shows. And when we have this kind of concept of self, the ego stuff, we resort to the privacy a lot. But people still find it difficult to keep it private, right? And they still want to tell the newspaper about something which is going through all the time. Because we easily misunderstand privacy and overuse it. That's the basics about privacy. for the first point. The second point, as we just mentioned seconds ago, is also about ego, self. What's the relation between the self and privacy? Let's look at what we are doing in daily life. Everybody has a self-image, right? It seems that most people are attached to the self-image. Everybody is running this definition which is called self. And we regard people not based on the person truly, but only based on the image. We thought there is a relationship between two persons, but actually it's not. It's only a relation between two images. Before we go on, people may ask, what is the relation? Relation is one person is related to another person. This relation can be very complicated between the two human beings' interaction. But look at the society. When the society is based on exchange or mutual exploitation or mutual use, when I contact you, I only want to use you to benefit me, and you also want to use me to benefit you. This is not relationship at all, because we have an end in being with people, this person, and this end is to benefit myself, and their side also have the same end. This exchange is a mutual exploitation or use. This is not a relationship at all. But at the same time, you see, without a relationship, which actually we don't know who we are, we can only be defined in a relationship, right? Everybody is only defined by a relationship. Then we can have identity or position, whatever. But in a society, there's no relationship. In a society, there's no relationship, only mutual use or exploitation. The people have to use a different way to identify themselves, not through relationship, because the society is generally lacking relationship. So they go for the ego. The bloated ego, to give you a name, give you an identity. And everybody doing the same, because we are lacking a relationship. So we need to rely on the ego to define who we are. And to impress you, I need to beautify my self-image. And to impress me, you also need to beautify your self-image. But if I have something very, this can be interpreted by you as something negative, it will damage my privacy. My self-image. So I need to keep that secret. So I have done something very notorious or nasty, I still need to keep a secret. Like I was a professor in a university, and I have done all kinds of misconduct. I can use my power to kick the victim out and maintain my good fame for the self-image. So I keep it private because this is my privacy. If I show it to other people, it will damage my privacy. You see, privacy becomes a tool to disguise or beautify the self-image. If this rule is on top of any other things, there's no moral values. Because we can do anything nasty and keep it private. And we call it privacy. Then the ill behavior and the misconduct is way more difficult to detect. Because the self-image or the disguised self-image is always the top priority in the society. That's the extremity of the mental issues of the society. That's what we call privacy here. We use privacy to cover up the activities of the ego, only for the benefit of the self-image. So when we talk about privacy here, actually it's only concerned about the true egos, the big egos. And if the society is purely based on egos, and when the society is presented as something open or an open society, it is also an image, is it? And if we regard this society, if we regard this privacy in the society, value this privacy, you see how the mind is distorted. Have a beautiful, pretentious, misleading, deceiving, no matter what you call. If you have a self-image that shows to other people that you are perfect and you derive pleasure from that, you don't need to have any moral values. No. Because everybody now in society is just mutually exploit each other, derive from the pleasure from this self-image. And this rule or this game belies a lot of sufferings behind it. the people's conflict is still there. And we found that in this rule, we don't need any morality, right? Because the privacy always the top priority. The self-image is always top priority. We can bend the mind to be in that state. That's probably why people can society has this kind of complaint procedure, and people are so into the complaint. Because seems the only way to air the grievance. Through the complaint procedure, to let people to judge whether your complaint is validated or not. But the validation of that is a very complicated challenges. Like if A and B are arguing with each other, I'm the judge. If I share the similar bias with the person A, then I will judge favor towards him. There's no equality, there's no fairness. But if I have the bias for person B, I will judge for him. But if I have no bias towards A and B, I couldn't judge. Do you see the point here? So we design a procedure, a complaint. But if you go into that complaint, it is quite meaningless. Because there's not really something right or wrong. It really depends what kind of bias you are holding on to, and this bias will determine which side you stand on. And to go through the complaint, people just argue based on text, based on argument. People had to be cunning, manipulative. It's just a game. It's just a game that totally distorts human minds. That's all about the privacy we mean here. When we really see the privacy itself, it sounds very, it's reasonable to have that privacy. But when we really see the whole picture of the society based on the minds, we also deep understand why the privacy is over-concerned. And why the society can become so individual, so far away from nature of the mind. Being open is the easy way to be relaxed. Being open means that we need to be free from the mental structure enforced by the society. If you are really into the game, the society, it can be very difficult for you to be open. And much of your mental energy has gone into this kind of being closed like what we call privacy. So to be free is to be open. And to be open is to be free. To be free, fundamental construct enforced by the whole society. Which means that we need to go through this kind of a mental or psychological revolution to overthrow the mental structure we have been trapped, which give us a lot of mental challenges in many subtle ways. So in that regard, meditation is to set you free, to give you the true freedom. You find the true freedom, not free anything. It's only a reaction, right? But it's a true freedom. You live a conscious life with the freedom to do what you want in a conscious way. Definitely, when you have no thoughts bother you, when your mind is truly calm, you are moral. You are compassionate. All right, let's take a break now for 5 minutes to relax a little bit. And then we can come back again to meditate to end today's session. Today's session is very special because I can't really hear you guys. And I know I'm becoming used to this kind of speaking in front of the camera. But yeah, it's a very different experience. And the human interaction via the YouTube is totally different from the offline session. And hopefully the virus can disappear soon and we can reorganize the event offline again. Okay, so let's have a break and 5 minutes, and we can come back to meditate to end today's session. All right, let's come back to the last part of the session. After nearly 2 hours reflection, our mind is of course very active. So let's just come down again to end today's session. Still 10 minutes, maybe a little longer. Yeah, 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes meditation. So let's just quieten the mind. And I hope everybody can have a peaceful evening after this session. Okay, now I'll play the audio guide, and let's just, if you possible, you can also turn off the light in your room so we can enjoy the darkness together across different locations over the internet. Now, let's take a 10-minute meditation. Start by taking a moment to find a comfortable position to sit in a posture that you feel relaxed and get alert. Let hands rest on your knees or laps. Let the eyes close gently. Soften your forehead. Act a soft smile in the corner of your lips. Breathe naturally. As you breathe in, be aware that you are breathing in. Feel the sensation of breathing in. The region can be the nostrils, can be the belly, can be anywhere. Focus on the part you feel most. As you breathe out, be aware that you are breathing out. Feel the sensation of breathing out. The region can be the nostrils, can be the belly, can be anywhere. Focus on the part you feel most. Fix your attention on the breath. Let go of any thought, words, images. This moment, nothing is more important than breath. Surrender yourself to this moment fully. Every time you hear the bell, check where your attention is. If it wasn't on the breath, gently invite your attention back to the breath and sustain your attention on the breath. Slowly bring your awareness back to this room. Feel into your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes. When you are ready, open your eyes. All right, so that's all for today's session, and I hope everyone has felt relaxed in the past 10 minutes. So after now, the whole session has finished, and I wish everybody a good day, a good evening, a peaceful week. Staying in peace and calm is the top priority of our life. For the mind, which is easily disturbed, come back to present, to be with what is, not bothered by what should be. And thank you for being here in your room in front of the computer tonight for 2 hours without any distraction, to stay and connected with each other via the space and time. And that's all. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye bye. Bye bye.